because this is really what's on our hearts. This is why we're here. We're not here to just, sling lattes and, serve pastries, even though we love doing that. It's just deeper than that. We want to really minister to people and touch people. And the fact that the reach of that goes internationally, and the fact that it's not just us and it's not just our leadership team, it's our local community and people coming in and buying coffees for us, are directly providing translations for the Nobe people, is so cool. It's so cool. Our mission in the Bookshop and Coffee is to nourish our community both locally and internationally. We do so locally with our brick and mortar location here in Frisco, Texas. We try to nourish into our community internationally by creating trade relationships with the Damarli Estate and people like Keith and his father David. We carry coffees in countries that we directly minister in or have translations where the main heart languages of the country are. And then additionally, 20% of all of our transactions actually go back into translations.
So Damarli Estate is actually a farm that was bought from a bank foreclosure back in 1995. And for the first almost 20 years, we simply worked with my mom's side of the family, the Ruiz family. But in 2014, I moved to Panama and I started working on the farm, and we moved from just doing cherry to selling and exporting green coffee, in big Utah bags. And so essentially my dad took on the project of building a house there, building a production site, redoing all the back end of the whole farming operation and producing side to support the future of really bringing our coffee to the world. And he's doing a lot of new innovative things in the coffee scene, whether it's because there's fermentation in coffee and we're now using yeast strains and creating different profiles of coffees that weren't created really before. We actually won the Best of Panama last year for 2 categories.
We were really fortunate to get our hands on some Panama coffee because we were, I think, one of the first shops in the area to introduce it kind of in the DFW coffee scene, which was really exciting. And we had a wonderful cupping here in September, and people got to work with Keith and kind of break down the complexities of the Panamanian coffee and the flavor and the body and the texture of it. And it's really nice to kind of expand your palate, especially when it's backed by such a really wonderful mission.
I'd say Panamanian coffee it's special because it's really about the producers that have been there for a long time, and the varietals that we grow, the innovation that is going on the farming side and the processing side. Many competitions are won with Panama Geisha, which is kind of the craze right now. It's the most expensive coffee in the world. But I'd say Panamanian coffee, due to where it's grown, the environment, Boquete Valley, Volcan, Cerro Punta, all these areas that have coffee regions have a unique weather, unique soils from the Volcan Baru. It's the perfect place to grow coffee. Coffee in the trade side of the world is actually a pretty small world. People have to be very honest and straightforward. And so in this sense, it's very much a trust and relationship for not only doing business, but with your workers, with your neighbors, with the whole community that really makes the coffee trade go round. In that sense, coffee is relationships. And even to the point now, in Panama, everything is handpicked. Every single coffee that you ever get is picked by someone by hand. So in fact, without people, there would be no coffee coming from Panama, because the hills are too steep to mechanize it. There's no mechanization, so everything is done by hand. And the relationships that you create over time are ones that last. The people that have been doing coffee for 5 generations are still the same people that are doing coffee now. So in fact, it's a very much a relationship type of step-by-step thing.
We have relationships with wonderful people like Keith and David, and they're a team at the Damarli Estate, with our roasters over at Island with Corey and Clay, and also with the people on the Damarli Estate, the Nobe people, so they can read biblical resources in their heart language.
So the Nove Bugle they're kind of an indigenous group to Panama. They have their own lands called the Comarca, which is right next to Chiriquí, which is a province. So it's almost like its own country within the country. They don't stay a lot in the Comarca because there's not the economical boom that there is elsewhere in Panama. So a lot of times you find them working in agriculture, in different professions, but they're very much involved in the coffee production. You'll typically find them on coffee plantations. They live on the estates, their children grow up on the coffee estates. So everything is kind of happening around where they live, which is on the farms, very much up in the mountains. Without them, there'd be almost no harvest because there's just not enough people, and they're actually very good at it. I would say that the local Panamanian people are also very involved in helping when they can, but there's a cap to the resources they have available. And so that's where I think partnerships outside of Panama are very important. The real ministry behind the coffee is making a real impact. There's just not a lot of resources for them in that sense. So I think biblical resources about character development, what does it mean to be a Christian, or just the Christian values, I think that's invaluable for that community. The things that we are doing at what we say origin are great, and I think that Bookshop and us is a great partnership.
This past year, our leadership team was really excited to kind of establish this coffee trade relationship with, Panama and the rest of everyone at the Damarli Estate. Moving forward, we're really excited to establish some coffee trade relations with others in Guatemala. We're working on some relationships with people in Brazil and also people in China. So the kind of expansion here is vast and not only covers a couple of countries, but a few different continents. So we're really, really excited about the prospect of that moving forward.